Welcome to the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast with your host, Mike DeHaan and Dan Austin. From wins, losses, horror stories, and tactics for optimizing your business, Mike and Dan take a real, uncensored deep dive into the ins and outs of running a full-time real estate investment and wholesaling business.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast, episode 62. This is our first, the beginning of the new phase of Collecting Keys. We have our 3-a-week episodes that we've started. You guys listened to the interview on Monday. This is the first official exclusive Mike and Dan show. We got new instant investor stuff online at Good Instant Investor Program or collectingkeyspodcast.com, instantinvestorprogram.com or collectingkeyspodcast.com. You can check out all the new platform on there. And in typical Mike and Dan fashion, we are currently trying to avert a crisis as we have our Airbnb property that we just had an instant booking to someone moving
back in the game.
Yeah, back in the game.
We're back in the game, and it's already full of drama.
It's full of drama. We got an instant booking where someone moving in here this evening, and first off, it should be blocked off. For some reason, they were able to book it. But in other news, our cleaners / Airbnb manager.
They're our property manager.
Yeah. Just the second that they booked, sent a warning saying, oh, yeah, this person just checked out of someone else's property that we manage, and they trashed the whole place, and we're like smoking meth in there.
Yeah.
So we need to cancel it.
Which also may be a property that we rent to an Airbnb arbitrage. I'm hoping it's not our other property.
Yeah. Wait, have we not confirmed that it's not yet?
I have not.
Oh my God! If we get just two ends of that would just be so on brand for how things go.
Yeah, man. We're back in the game, and it's already a shit show.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the Airbnb lifestyle apparently in Spokane, Washington.
And so let's be honest about this though. With how much weird shit happens all the time between all of our transactions on the wholesale side with our rental properties, this Airbnb stuff. The fact that it happens so regularly, and also, too, we talk to other people that I know do a lot of business, and they always have similar crazy stories about stuff. It's how I know that all these people that are on, social media that talk about, I have, 40 units that I arbitrage, and it's so easy. It's I bought, these couple units, and now I just travel around, and it's so simple.
Liars.
I know that they're liars.
Yeah. They either don't own it, or it's not easy.
Yeah, exactly. Or they actually just make no money, and they're just 100% living the illusion, and it's not real at all.
There's a lot. I mean, it's one of all of those things. There's very few people out there just in the grind that are happy all the time and don't have a great story of some crackhead trying to rent their Airbnb and you having to scramble last minute to get them out of there.
Yeah, I mean, it just probably comes to the territory, honestly. You're in the business of, I guess it's like a service-based business where you're working with people of a wide range of social demographics, of income demographics. And with things like Airbnb, it puts you in a position to where people, there's no real due diligence process on that except for Airbnb.
You're relying, I guess with the Airbnb, you're relying on the network effect of people in community to you're providing a service, and people, the network should take care of it because you have 5-star, 3-star, all these starred reviews. But because you're having to rely on this external factor, there's nothing you can do about some crackhead coming in, renting your place, and trashing it.
Exactly. And even in the case of this guy, we were just looking at his profile. I mean, I'm guessing that his profile has been hacked or something because the guy's been around since 2014. He has a few dozen 5-star reviews as a tenant. But, we don't know that it's not him, or maybe he's used to be a.
He met a lady. He's from Georgia. He came to Spokane. He met a lady. He met a local Spokaneite, a beautiful lady that just got caught up in some bad ways, and now they're spiraling down together. They left Camp Hope, otherwise known as Camp Dope.
Yeah.
Here, the homeless shelter we have here in town. That's, I don't know if it's closed down yet, but
it's not.
The homeless camp, not shelter. It's a camp. And now they're just spiraling together, and his Airbnb his review is going down with it. It probably was 5-star. Now it's 4.5. It's going to be 4.2.
Yeah.
By the end of the week, 3.9.
Yeah, but they're going to get into and trash, a dozen homes between now and then.
Right.
So,
and then the network will work because then his review he'll get pulled off. But the people in between that had to make the network work were that person. Our other guy that we know is that person that had his Airbnb trashed.
Yeah. I mean, and that is though what you say about the network, that sort of network trust there. Because you see that with a lot of these like peer-to-peer sort of like side hustle things, right? Like, Uber, for example, you order an Uber. I've thought about this several times as someone, if I go out, we're going to get drinks or whatever, I'll Uber home if things get a little bit too crazy. And, usually it's kind of like late at night. I'm like, how do I know that this Uber driver wasn't someone who was out drinking and had the drunk thought of like, what would be fucking cool right now if I went and made some money and decided that they were going to go. I don't know that.
Have you ever been in an accident in an Uber?
No.
Oh, yeah. I got smacked in an Uber before. It hurt so bad. Rear-ended on the freeway.
Where was this?
Seattle.
Okay.
Yeah, it was not. I literally whiplash. And then I felt so bad. It was an immigrant from Mexico City, and he just got the car, and he just saved up to get it, and then, he got smashed by this person that didn't have insurance.
Of course. They never do, the people that drive like that. But, it is funny, that trust. And Airbnb, that is no different. So that's our drama. What's going to happen? Tune in next week, and you'll find out. We need
that sound machine. We need the news, the little news ticker coming, and that's the news. But actually, cue up news ticker. Bigger news, bombshell news out there today. Liver King has been exposed for being on performance-enhancing drugs. Just this week, just today.
You would care about that. You're like the only person I know that would care about that.
I'm just saying, it's confirmation. It's confirmation.
For how not into, I don't know, internet and social media and stuff, you are, so much about the random stars that
if it bleeds into the public eye a little bit, I know, right? Liver King. I mean, he's a popular guy. People know who he is.
Yeah. If you don't
know who he is, go look him up. He's a buff guy that is not, until today, on steroids. He is on steroids. They exposed him. He's an idiot. He sent emails to people with all of his stuff, all of his stats on what he's taking, and then he's on the internet telling people how do you do that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Also, if there was ever anyone
a sociopath
that honestly had doubt about that, then they're not smart. Just go look at him. He's enormous. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
And the way that his body is formed is not a natural thing.
He doesn't run Airbnbs at all. He doesn't know what he's doing.
I've heard he's really rich from something though.
He is. He runs Ancestral Supplements, a legit supplement company. You've probably heard of him.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he came from a lot of money somewhere, because that was why he spends all of his time just carrying kettlebells around the 50 acres that he lives on.
Yeah.
So
he does do that.
Anyway.
Anyhow, news ticker. There you go. That was your news ticker for the week.
There's your random pointless fact for the week.
In case you're wondering.
But anyway, so yeah, real estate wise, getting, coming into the holidays, it's always kind of a weird situation, as where everything has always turned so dead. Something that we've been really chatting with our guys about though is this is the time to be following up with a lot of those leads that you've kind of built rapport with over the fall that maybe didn't want to move forward. They said oh, call me in the springtime, all that sort of stuff. Even though you're not expecting to get a transaction, and the time spent doing that can feel a little pointless, it's a very important part of the sales process, because what it means is that you're going to stay front of mind, and then as the weather starts to get better, the year starts to turn around, and you engage with them again, they're going to be that much more familiar with you because you checked in with them over the holidays. And always bring up the house, they know that's why you're calling them, but try to treat it as more of checking in with a friend, having a little bit of an informal conversation, see what their Thanksgiving was, see what their plans are going into Christmas. Those sort of things, they can seem pointless, but they can go surprisingly far. And our sales guys,
like you said, be top of mind, but also you're not just calling and making it a weird, awkward phone call. I mean, it's always going to be a little weird because they're not really your friend, but maybe you have a great rapport with them, a great relationship, and the holidays seem to be it's a marker, a defining point in the year for most people, where things shut down. Hey, I'm not doing anything this week. It's Thanksgiving. I've got to cook a turkey for 184 hours or
Yeah.
however long a week is, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you
right.
know, they're taking time off of work, or their work is shutting down, they're at home, they're slower. So then there's an opportunity, A, because you know they're probably going to be more available, to call them, touch base, keep building that rapport. But B, once that holiday season's over, like January 3rd or whenever you want to call that defining point, it seems like things start picking up and you want to be right there.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, you'll find too, if you check in with people sort of more casually like that, they'll start to remember who you are pretty quickly. And that's how you know that you have good rapport with them. Like even one of our sales guys just mentioned today, he's like, oh yeah, I've had some people I've called recently, and, you know, they answer on like the first ring and they're like, oh, hey Dave, how's it going?
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
that's great news. That means that
Yeah.
if, you know, they look to move forward with a sale here in the next couple of months, and they comes between us and Dave and, you know, some other Joe Schmo, we're going to be probably a lot better, have a much better chance of getting it than they are, because they're going to be
They're just going to have an opportunity, right? If there's a deal to be had, we're hopefully going to be the first people they call, because they're answering the phone on a first name basis, which is huge. I mean, that doesn't happen very often. You got to really work on that. But I think too, you kind of alluded to it too, is like, don't expect to close the deal on December 23rd. Not that doesn't happen, because we've done that, right?
Yeah.
There are those leads, but don't think of it as a sales call. It's a check-in call. That's what it is. You're checking in on one of your book of clients, just like you would with anybody. You know, a realtor, an agent, you know, they might have sold you a house, and in 24 months they're going to send you an email, or they're going to give you a phone call and just check in, because you're their book of clients now. They want to stay top of mind, knowing that you're not going to sell every 12 months or every 30 days. Same thing with our sellers. Like, they haven't sold yet, so let's keep checking in on them. Just seeing where they're at, so we're top of mind.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's all about branding as well. I mean, it's the same reason that you have all these realtors that do even the silly novelty things like, oh, we're going to, you know, give you a pie if you, the first 150 people that give us their email, you know, we're going to give you a pie if you come down to our brokerage and pick it up, you know, or they send out like wreaths or poinsettias or whatever the hell else people want. It's always like a nice gesture, but literally they're doing that with the hopes that sometime in the future you will go to sell your house or buy a house, and you're going to be like, oh yeah, remember when they like gave us the pie? Or like, now I know who this person is because I had to go and meet them face to face and like shake their hand and say thank you for my free shitty $4 Costco pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
you know, but it pays dividends, and you have to approach it as an investor with the same sort of mentality, right? And actually, like our previous acquisitions manager that we had, almost 2 years ago now, she was really good at this, and she would like weigh out just kind of like the mentality of the sellers, and even like little things, you know, like if you had, like, so we went to some of these houses where you had a seller that was on really difficult times, and we would, you know, get them like she would go and pick them up like a blanket or like some pillows or like just like some basic house things, just to make their home a little bit cozier while they were there and trying to figure out their next steps. And then even if they didn't choose to sell with us for some reason, it was typically because they were literally unable to go anywhere else. It wasn't because they did not have trust. And, you know, worst case, we spent like $20 and we made their lives a little bit more comfortable. Best case, we get a sweet deal on a house. You know,
that's so highly overlooked too, and just the sales process, the skill of being able to identify that stuff. I would have walked in and be like, "Oh, it must be doing laundry," or whatever. There's no sheets on the bed, but for her to observe that and then kind of being inquiring throughout the sales process to understand where this person's at, and then recognize that there's a solution she could provide to that person, regardless of what's happening with the house. Like, that's a skill in itself, and it takes time. And you said, $20, $30. I mean, if you're going to make, say, a $50,000 wholesale fee, and you spend a few $1,000s on marketing, your average cost per deal is that, and then you had to spend another $100 on that person, you would say yes if you knew you were going to get 15 grand out of them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and, you know, despite how much we talk about like crackheads and crazy people and, you know, like the up and down of the different transactions, we talk about those things because they're the ones that stand out in our head. That's not the vast majority of the transactions. I mean, and typically too, some of the best transactions and the biggest transactions we have are ones where everyone is super cordial, the people are super nice, like, and it all comes down to providing a service for them as opposed to having to solve some insane problem with their, like, I don't know, incestual nieces and nephews who are smoking crack in the house and like doing something crazy.
Right. Oh my goodness.
You know, you just never. It's not always crazy, but like, you know, that when it comes to those more put together people, that customer service is even more important. So you definitely want to keep that in mind.
Yeah. Well, and again, another point not to overlook here is right now you probably have the time to do that. Like, don't, we've heard all the different gamuts of what people do. They stop marketing or they take the end of the year off because, like, oh, it's a slow part of the year. Like, nobody wants to sell during Christmas. You're absolutely right. Very few people do. Some people do. Again, we've had that happen. But this is the time where you get to clean up some of that stuff. You get to clean up your book of clients. You get to clean up your CRM, get it all dialed in, and spend that time doing that holiday check-in is whatever you want to call it. Do that follow-up and be consistent because nobody else is doing that because they're taking the rest of the year off because they don't think anybody wants to sell their house. That's fine. They don't. But on January 3rd, they will.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. And what a great transition that is, too, to our educational piece that we're going to talk about today, which is going into the holidays, the importance of marketing and ways that you can stand out with your marketing pieces going into, the end of the year and Christmas time. So first off, if you are in a situation where you're like, Mike and Dan, you guys are talking about I need to follow up with these leads. I don't have any leads. Well, if you want to start getting them, first you should go to collectingkeyspodcast.com/free, and you can download our free 5-step guide to start generating off-market leads. And now if you are already marketing and you want more opportunities, we're going to talk about some ways that you can go about that. So, perfect.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm figuring out a transition here, and we're going to do that. I'm going to cut that out, and I don't know if I want to do like an ad or something, and we'll go from there. Yeah, so.
One thing I was going to say on our CTAs is, like, I feel like we could drop, like, the Instagram CTAs.
Yeah, I'm not going to plan to do those.
I was laying in bed at like 3:30 this morning after I fed Cole, and I was like, we should probably drop those. Like, we should do them every once in a while, but not like every episode.
Yeah. I think, or just do them like at the very end.
Even then, it's just like it doesn't hit home because you know what I mean. But like, if we get new listeners over a couple months, and it's like do it again because like I this is dumb. Sorry, side topic, but I listened to my buddy on a podcast, Andy Stump's podcast. Guy lives in Kalispell. And I was like, he didn't say his Instagram, but I was like, man, this motherfucker, I'm going to look him on Instagram. I don't know how I'm not friends with him. I look him up, and I'm like, motherfucker's got 50,000 Instagram views. This guy was in the army with 50,000 Instagram followers.
How many likes does he get on his posts?
Thousands, 5,000 to 7,000.
Okay. Yeah,
so like legit, like more than most of the influencers I see on in the real estate business.
Because that's the
and
thing.
He doesn't do it to monetize it though. He's just like people like him.
Yeah. He's just that great guy.
He's just been on a few podcasts, but he's also like a combat reporter and shit like that.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he does stuff that's pretty broad.
But he doesn't pitch his Instagram handle.
Yeah. Well, I think that helps. But yeah, because a lot of the people you'll see that have like a lot of them, they buy them. You can go buy 10,000 followers for like $80.
Yeah, I definitely don't think he did that. He doesn't give a fuck that much.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, I'll figure out a transition. But cool.
Sorry.
All right, you're good. No, that's good thought. I think that maybe what we should do that on like these ones because these are like about us, and then maybe not on like the other show, like the Monday show.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
That's fine. If you want to. I don't really care that much about it.
Yeah.
I just think if it's excessive, then people aren't going to do it.
That's true. Yeah. Okay.
And if we only have like, say, 300, 400 listeners per episode, we both have more listener or podcast or Instagram followers than that. So are we really gaining anything?
That's true.
Very true. But then if all of a sudden we're at like 700 downloads, it might be worth pitching it again.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like on a not regular basis, like, hey, shit, go to Instagram, hit me up.
Yeah. Okay.
Or if that's, I don't know. It could be the main point where we want people to communicate with us too, so that's fine too.
Yeah. Okay.
Just thought I had. Doesn't mean anything.
Makes sense to me. Cool. All right. Go there. You ready? Mm-hmm. 3, 2. All right. So marketing during the holidays, first off, is very important. A lot of people, they will, every year they will completely pull back on their marketing during the holidays because they have the assumption that, people are less likely to sell their house during that period of time, which is true. But it's a very important thing to do because what it does, it tees you up for going into the new year where everyone sort of comes out with like a new year, new them sort of mentality. And historically for us over the last few years, January usually still isn't awesome, but February is usually a very big month for us. February and March are. And more often than not, those that we close during those months, they come from like the December and January marketing, right? So, first off, make sure that you're doing it. Second off, there's certain things you can do to help you stand out and to help build a little bit more urgency with people as we sort of get into that period of time with your marketing to make the most out of your marketing dollars. Some of the things are novelty. Like I got these samples from Ballpoint Marketing. If you go check out our YouTube, I have like a little video of them. But they're Ballpoint. They do these handwritten letters, but they have these like novelty little like Christmas envelopes that you can get right now on their website. Like they just have.
What do you think? What do you think about that? Here's a good question. This is a point of discussion because I'm looking at the camera. They've got the addresses handwritten on it, right, with a pen or auto pinned. Do you think that like pops it sticks out versus like a white envelope with just like handwriting on it?
Yeah, so it's all about little stuff that makes it stand out a little bit more. And if you can do things that are a little bit more relevant to the area or like the situation, it helps stand out even more too. Because it's like with these ones, it's handwritten. If you go on YouTube, you can see the envelopes. They have Christmas ornaments. They have other things on them. It's kind of a cool little way to just sort of make it stand out, I guess, amongst all the other marketing material they get or the other blank envelopes they're going to be getting during this period of time.
Yeah, I mean, that one there specifically looks like a Christmas card.
It does, but what I'm going to say is, if you use like this one right now versus you go to like another mail house company, you just send like a bright orange envelope. This is probably going to sit a little bit better and look less like just a straight advertisement versus, just like the orange envelope. Or like, if you're sending, I don't know, flyers or something like that, doing something that makes it Christmas themed makes it a little bit more personal. But ultimately what it does too is it makes it look like you spend more time and gives you more credibility as a business. It looks more like you're an established business and you're not just like some person that's like sitting in your mom's basement just flinging stuff out there trying to buy someone's house.
Yeah, and if you think about the list you're marketing to, think about your end user of that product that you're sending the marketing. You want them, obviously, the goal is for them to say, that's interesting. I'm looking at it now. Like, okay, I'm going to open it. It looks like a Christmas card. And maybe you're sending some of your distressed sellers, like cards to your distressed sellers. So they obviously are stressed. It's holidays. A lot of people get stressed, especially if they don't have financial security. Which if they're on a distressed list, there's a good chance that they don't have financial security. So then they're probably already thinking they want to sell their house or they need to do something with their house. And they're in the holiday stress. They see it, they open it up, and then how you sell them and like what are you doing in that card or that letter also matters too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the copy is going to be super important, and the copy we're talking about direct mail kind of exclusively here, but this can also go along with if you're cold calling people, if you're texting people, the messaging that you put out at the end of the year, it can vary slightly from other parts of the year because one, you can create urgency pretty easily with the impending timeline being the end of the year. So, with that can be, this is pretty common for us to do in our letters or for other people to say like, hey, seller, we're looking to buy one more property by the end of the year. We would love it to be your house on 123 Main Street. That's a very simple way to do it that sort of appeals to everyone. But the more powerful one is if there are landlords out there that might have a property that they've been looking to sell, but they're worried about taxes, they're worried about all these sort of different things. A lot of them will start to have like a slightly better idea about where their financial position is sitting, right, coming into the end of the year, and if it makes sense to sell or not. That will be a much more of a clear decision versus like in June, where they don't know if they need to be worried about taxes or not. Actually, they don't know how much money they've made. So we've actually, almost every year we've closed some pretty sweet deals like at the end of December.
I feel like that's like our best year. They're all landlord ones.
They're all
our
landlord
best time
ones.
of year.
Yeah,
they're like our best properties, I should say.
Exactly, because you have these landlords that are like, I didn't really want to sell. I was like, but shit, if I sell next year with what I'm sort of expecting, my taxes are going to be significantly worse than if I sell right now where I had kind of like a down year or whatever. And they want to get it off their books for the end of the year. Like we literally bought an 8-unit apartment complex last year. And what did we close on like December 31st? I think it was the day before New Year's Eve. And part of the condition of the sale was that it had to close before the end of the new year or they weren't going to sell to us. And we actually kind of had to scramble the jets because
it cost us more.
It did. It cost us more. Yeah. And the guy literally called us like 2 weeks before and he was like, I need to sell this by the end of the year. We gave him our terms, what it would take for us to be that quick. And he's like, that's fine. I don't care. I just want to be done with it. Worked out great. right? And I think the year before, did we have?
We had a duplex that closed in December.
That's right.
And then maybe another property.
I think we had a single family. Is that when we bought the 11th one? Maybe, I don't know. But I don't know if that was the same situation. But yeah, we did have the duplex, but it was a similar sort of thing, right? Where there was somebody that needed to get it off their books for the end of the year. It's a sweet little duplex.
Yep.
And they wanted to be done with it, so that it wasn't going to affect their taxes, especially if they're older. Older people, if they're on Social Security, they have to be really cautious about how much money they make. And if they go and they realize like a huge gain on a property sale, like that can mess up their Social Security forever. So for a lot of them, especially getting to the end of the year, it can be beneficial for them to make less money than they potentially could and be able to collect it so they can keep receiving their government insured money forever, but now they don't have to deal with this property anymore, especially if they're having issues with it they know are going to be an issue next year.
Yep. Yeah, we actually ran into that a few times where sellers, and I can't remember exactly all the details, but when they show a certain level of income, like that's the problem with how like our elder system works. Is like if you have any money or any assets, they want you to drain those completely before they give you the assistance you need to survive as an elder person who can no longer work. So it's sad, but they can get to these thresholds where they're like, well, I want to offload this property. Let me get it below that threshold so that, like you're saying, I don't have this gain or I no longer have this asset, so then I can actually keep my government assistance that I deserved and earned.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Right. And, a lot of them are super, super sensitive to that. And it's crazy too, how much people hold on to that as well. Sometimes even if it doesn't necessarily make sense for them.
Right.
Like we've had,
sometimes it makes no sense. They just hate the government.
They just, yeah, right.
They don't want to pay taxes.
Or they're just so accustomed to living off that Social Security money. And even though you can be like, well, if you had an extra $100,000, which is what you could get, you wouldn't need that. But the comfort of having that money come in every single month is how they've grown up and how they, expect to live. So, if you really, really push that towards landlords, there's, a lot of opportunity there. So, leaning on that time urgency, whether saying that you're only looking to buy a couple by the end of the year, or that, if they are worried, about selling by the end of the year, you can sort of word that in there a couple of different ways. So like I said before, you can literally say we're looking to buy like one by the end of the year, or you can send it out to landlord and say like, hey, if you need to close by the end of the year for tax reasons, like we have cash and we are ready to close by December 30th. And you literally put that in your marketing, you'll get some people that are interested in that, right?
Yep.
So those are some major things that you can lean on. Also, too, a lot of places, they will have sheriff sales that will be coming around kind of at the end of December to early January. So if you sort of can find the details on those different, lien sales, tax sales, sheriff sales in your area, it's highly possible that you're going to have people that have been waiting until the very last minute to, get out of that situation and are now in big trouble. And if you market towards those people, and you can find lists of these on most county websites, and you literally market to them and you say like, hey, I see you're going to lose your house. You're going to lose like sort of all of your equity in the situation. We can bail you out, but we have to do it before this period of time. You can always get some engagements with that as well. And we had one last year that we tried to bail out that way, but the house was just so underwater with the work that it needed that we couldn't get it together. But tell you what, he was completely ignorant of the situation. We marketed towards the sheriff's sale sort of situation, and it came around really, really quickly, and he wanted to close like ASAP, to the point that it was like kind of highly stressful because he could not close. We could not close as fast as the title company, and then the title company just couldn't handle going that pace during the holidays. But if you just do a little bit of legwork, there are a lot of events that happen, amongst the population of people between the holidays, but also amongst the county, that create a lot of opportunity in this December period of time. So, some stuff to think about as you're going into it. And then I think, the number one thing too is, as you're contacting people are reaching out to you, people are saying, I'm not ready to sell yet, call me after the new year. One thing I cannot emphasize enough with this is to set a specific date, or at least a period of time where you're going to call them back, and stick to that. Because otherwise what'll happen is, they call in on like December 15th. They say, hey, I'm not really interested in selling right now. I want to wait until the springtime. Say, that's awesome. I appreciate that. Would it be okay if I called you like just right after the new year, say like, January 5th or 6th, and we could talk about it then. And they'll say, yeah, sure. And then when January 5th or 6th comes around, you call them, and they're going to remember that you made that appointment. And it's that little bit of like, you set the appointment, you showed up, you did what you said you were going to do, is going to give you that much rapport going into that new year where they're going to be starting to be more open to selling. Because what we see a lot of people do is they'll have a seller say, call me again in like 3 months. Say, cool, I'll call you in 3 months. And then you call them in 3 months, but you never went through the motions of setting a specific date with a specific expectation. So you call them in 3 months, like, who is this? They don't remember.
Yeah, it goes a long ways.
Yeah, and even though it can seem like such a minor detail, those things I think are especially powerful when you have the mental sort of calendar that everyone keeps, which is the end of the year and the holidays, right? Because they'll say like, oh yeah, I forgot. You said you were going to call me at the end of the year versus like, oh yeah, you said you were going to call me August 18th, which doesn't mean anything to anybody, right?
Totally.
Unless it's your birthday.
So I got a question. Going back to the sending mail, so you're saying we should keep marketing. Should we expect to see a lower response rate even though we're sending mail? Like, should that alarm somebody if they get a lower response rate this time of year?
That's a good question. So this is also why it's important to be tracking your your different campaigns. So like we use RE Simply for our CRM. With that, it's very easy to make different phone numbers so you can track how different campaigns do. You will likely see a lower response rate in the immediate, but don't be surprised if you send out mail or you do your outreach kind of in the beginning of December, and then people start calling you from those letters, especially if they're kind of pretty novelty letters like these ballpoint ones that have the globes and stuff on them, like make them sort of stand out, because people will keep those, especially older people, if they start calling you like middle of January, right? Or like early February or things like that, because they got your Christmas card and they're like, oh cool, yeah, this is nice.
They put it
on
the fridge.
They put it on the fridge, or like honestly they put it like in their kitchen drawer and they just like forget about it. And then the new year rolls around, they open up their drawer to put their holiday shit away, and they're like, oh yeah, what is this? Oh yeah, I was gonna call.
Yeah, they read it, they look at it, and they go, I am kind of interested in selling my house. I'm freaking upset with the holidays right now. I'm like stressed to the peak, so I can't do anything. I'm like locked into whatever I'm doing with the holidays. But this house is, for whatever reason, put whatever niche list that person's on, reason why they want to sell their house or need to sell their house, or have felt like they've wanted to sell their house, but they're like, it's just not right now. It goes in the junk drawer, like you said. January comes out, new year, new me, cleaning out the kitchen.
Yep.
And they're like, oh yeah, I do want to sell. I'm going to call them.
And I also think that whole thing, we really harp on pushing direct mail. I guess we really push it because of how powerful this is, especially if you do like high quality, like kind of novelty direct mail. Is you'd be surprised at how often people keep it, Right. And I mean, even recently, we were getting calls from markets we haven't been in for like 4 months. I'm like, stop calling me. We're not buying there anymore. But they like found it, or like we'll get like a web inquiry from someone in North Carolina where we haven't been since like, I don't know, September.
Right.
Yeah. And
you get the sales guy like, are we still doing stuff here?
I'm like, no.
I'm like, no, but like maybe it's a deal.
Yeah, exactly. But like the stickiness of mail is really, really interesting.
Right.
So, and that's why it's important to spend the extra mile, especially when you are coming around things that are like mental timestamps for people, or like checkpoints, Christmas, New Year's, 4th of July, like even like start of summer, right? School getting out. That's another one, like Labor Day, like I don't know,
Kwanzaa.
Any sort of Kwanzaa. That's true. I was not very inclusive in all the things that I listed
throw it out there, man.
Ramadan, Chinese New Year,
Canadian Thanksgiving, which actually falls in October, is a big one. Boxing Day, another one.
Boxing Day, Day of the Dead. What else did they celebrate? I'm sure there's something somewhere. Indigenous Peoples Day. That's a big one.
That is a big one. I think is that Christopher Columbus Day too?
Whoa. We don't say that anymore. That's not allowed.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
How dare you? We're going to get canceled for that.
Hey, edit that out, Jim. Jim.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. I believe our producer's name is actually Max.
Okay, sorry, Max.
Which you would know if you ever figured out how to access your collecting keys email.
You're right.
So, anyways, guys, marketing into the holidays. Don't stop doing it. First off, just do the little novelty things, especially, I mean, even if you do like kind of not novelty stuff for the rest of the year, you send your cheap, slips of postcards, whatever. Take a step up for the holidays. I guarantee it will pay off because you're going to be aligning with the general view and mental space that everyone is in, and you're going to be that little step above everyone else who's trying to keep it cheap during the holidays. So definitely go and dive into that. Anyways, guys, anything else, Dan? I think that's kind of it.
No, that's it. I think is this a no shave November look for you?
No, I think this is gonna be my new look.
So you're not doing the whole November thing.
No, this is gonna be me now. I'm trying to be like you. I'm gonna shave my head here soon as well.
No, I don't think you'd look that good with your head shaved.
You don't think so? What about like this?
Plus that's called being trans bald, and nobody likes a trans bald person.
Trans bald.
If you're not really bald when you shave your head, is a trans bald person.
Trans bald.
Us bald guys, we get offended by you trans bald guys.
Yeah. So does that mean that you identify as like, I don't know, shiny and glimmering or something? Like
that's what you're trying to. Is you can't shave if you have luscious locks, you can't shave your head. It does not work.
How dare you assume my bald status, sir? Very not PC of you. Man, we're definitely getting canceled now.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Cool, guys. Thanks for listening. If that was offensive to you at the end, just you can take that out on Dan on Instagram at InvestorManDan. Go ahead and send him
I'm
a
the bald
DM.
guy. I'm the guy with the bald guy.
He's the bald
with
guy.
a nice beard, though. I have a nice beard.
Yeah, and if you want to learn some stuff, you can reach out to me at Mike_invests. Aside from that, if you want to start generating your own off-market leads, go to collectingkeyspodcast.com/free, and you can download our 5-step guide to start generating off-market leads, just like we do every single month. So, anyways, thanks for listening to guys. Talk to you guys next week.
See you.
Thanks for listening. Please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And check us out at collectingkeyspodcast.com for tips and guides on starting your own real estate investment and wholesaling business.